Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Uncanny Treks covering Strange New Worlds. We are on Season 3, Episode 3, Shuttle to Confori. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. We are Uncanny Treks. Matt, how you doing this evening?
Doing well, Bob. I'm just hoping I never have a Gorn infestation inside my body.
Or if you do have that Gorn infestation, you hope that your medical personnel are Mabinga, Chapel, and Spock, eh?
They really work as a team and are willing to break a lot of rules to go and rescue you and save you, one character. Do you care for Batel?
I like Patel. I don't think the show is doing this very overtly, but there's a sort of subtle contrast between, and I mentioned this last week, between how Pike is dealing with knowing his own fate, which is something I've really liked how this show and even season 2 of Star Trek Discovery played with. But there's a subtle contrast of how he's accepting his own fate, but he can't accept Batel's very possible fate. And I think that's really interesting. It says a lot about Pike, and it also maybe even suggests that some of his unease about what's happening to Batel is maybe just his own unconscious dread of his own end, if that makes sense.
It does. Do you think his prayers worked last week, Bob?
But that's an interesting question, Matt.
Why don't we break into the episode first with a summary and then we'll go into a little more detail.
What is the summary?
Well, Bob, Mbinga and Pike head to an abandoned research planet in restricted space to recover a Chimera blossom in hopes of saving Batel.
I did wonder when that was the premise of this episode that they were going to basically violate, they don't call it the Klingon neutral zone, which they occasionally called it that in the original series, but they call it, I think, the restricted zone, like you said.
Right.
I was wondering, man, is Pike going to start another war with the Klingons just like Burnham? And it was just, is Pike's reason for starting this war actually any better than Burnham's reason for starting the war at the start of Star Trek Discovery?
Not really, no.
You do all you can, but I don't know if starting an interstellar war it falls under all you can. Come on.
Right. And the whole restricted space, Klingon neutral, whatever it's called, is this well defined at this point? Is it there an act, or is this just no man's land?
It seems well defined in the universe of the show. I don't know that it's well defined in terms of what we've seen on screen, but I don't know.
Okay, gotcha. This is actual Klingon space.
The way they described it, or at least the way I remember them describing it from the episode, is this was disputed territory that both had claimed. As a truce from the war, they both pulled from it.
So they both said, we're not going to do anything here. Gotcha.
Yeah, and that maybe somewhat changes the climax, which admittedly I wasn't paying the closest attention to, but I think the idea is that neither the Klingons nor the Enterprise should really be there.
Yeah, so really, Pike taking this mission into the restricted space is probably, it's not as bad as if he actually went into Klingon space, per se.
I forget the specifics of the daughter of the war criminal they encountered.
Right.
She's definitely like in Klingon renegade mode. So the conflict with her, at least, is not the same as like a full-on conflict with the forces of the Klingon Empire.
Right. Less repercussions.
In the original series and in the novels and the video games associated with the original series, it always did feel somebody was always violating the neutral zone, right?
Right. And it's necessary.
Say more about Batel, or did you want to just dive into the notes?
Dive in, Bob, because honestly, I thought Batel was going to die season 3, episode 1. That was my expectation. Her still being alive at this point, it's okay. I don't know where they're going with this. If she ends up dying anyway, we've done all this trying to save her in these last couple episodes.
Smart money at this point has to be on she's going to live but break up with Pike, right? You and I both assumed in the season 2 finale that she was toast.
Oh, yeah.
And then we assumed that the plot was more or less over in the season 3 premiere. And then adding the further complications and getting her out of the woods has been kind of structurally interesting. And it is interesting that it's changed both of our expectations, where at the season 2 finale, we're like, yeah, she's dead. And now in the 3rd episode of season 3, we're like, yeah, she'll probably stick around and just break it.
She's still hanging on, just with Gorn inside her.
Which we talked about this already in our episode on the 2 premieres, but it is a little interesting that the Gorn infestation has become both a metaphor for cancer and a metaphor for pregnancy.
Aren't those the same thing?
I would tend to say so, but I know some people would respect that. I respect that.
We are
Yeah,
procreation guys. It's okay. If you want to go procreate, you're okay. Bob and I did not
yeah,
procreate. I can see the Fox News headline now, Bob. Star Trek is the reason that the millennials are not having children.
I will say, on the one hand, obviously that's absurd. On the other hand, if you think about Star Trek as a franchise and you think about Star Trek as like procedural television, it is remarkably uninterested in the families of its characters compared to any other show or franchise.
But Wesley Crusher, I'm
Like
kidding.
yeah, the rare exceptions. Wesley Crusher or Spock's parent shows up, or Spock has a missing adopted human sister we were never told about,
Worf's
or
kid.
yeah, Worf's kid, Jake, right? But on the whole, most of the characters are unmarried. Most don't have children. Most don't talk about their families in most episodes of the show. And in that way, it is interesting. Whereas if you watch your average lawyer show, cop show, hospital show, or even to some extent your average science fiction show, a lot of the characters are going to be defined a lot more by their
Yeah.
relations.
A lot of single parent homes in Star Trek, Bob.
A lot of single parent homes in Star Trek, Matt, and yet somehow it's still a utopian future. Let's see. One thing that might come up in this episode is we're hitting the limits of my memory. My first memory question is we see Pike and Mabinga fly fishing together. They're being outdoor bros together. And did we see that in season 1 or 2? I feel like we did, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it was in the episode Spock Amok, and it was they were on that star base and in one of those biomes. The two of
That
them
was
fly
season
fish.
2, right?
Season
Oh,
one, episode 5.
that was one of the hijinks episodes with T'Pring.
Yeah, it was a comedy of errors.
Then we didn't know about Mabinga's string of broken hearts, right? We find out that he has 3 ex-wives and then potentially a fourth one, but he says it's not because it was just an annulment.
I want to know why Binga is the most interesting character on this damn show. The man's got 3 ex-wives and annulment. He takes Klingon venom. I mean, the man murders Klingons left and right. He keeps all these secrets from his captain, but still gets away with it. Come on, the guy's awesome. Would you watch a movie, Bob, about Binga?
Are you thinking one of those like Paramount Plus straight to streaming movies?
That's probably the route they would go, but I'm okay with that because I think Babs could totally carry that out.
I would watch it. On the one hand, that's exactly the type of thing that I dislike modern franchises doing. But on the other hand, it's a real credit to how much I like the actor and how charming he is in the role that, yeah, I would watch. I would also say it's funny that in theory, like the doctor who's a super secret spec ops badass, that sounds so cringe. It sounds so stupid. It's been done 1,000 times before. But yet, again, credit to the actor and even a little credit to the writers. It comes off in Mabinga's case. I don't mind it.
It's because of the way Mbinga is portrayed, he's got grandpa vibes in a sense. You want to talk to him,
Yeah.
you want to sit down and talk with him. He's a nice guy. You want to cuddle up with him and say, let's watch TV or something. But at the same time, you turn around and he's murdering Klingons.
He's just brutally murdered.
He's the grandpa you wanted. You went to Vietnam, but then you can also have a relationship with me that doesn't involve screaming.
You came back from World War II or Vietnam, and you don't just stare at the wall and pound 6 packs. Speaking of Pike, did you like his bandit look with the handkerchief tied over his mouth?
It really gives me just their outfits in general and the whole way it was set up. It really gave me Last of Us vibes
I have not seen the
or
show.
game or whatever.
I did watch my roommate Noah play a fair amount of the game, so I know the general idea and vibe.
It fits the situation with the zombies showing up.
Are you burnt out on zombies? Is that what I'm hearing from your description of this?
I really am, Bob. After Walking Dead, World War Z, every other movie in the world with zombies, there was a span of 20 years where it was zombies everywhere. I'm just tired of it. It's lost its appeal.
On the one hand, I wanted to disagree with you because I went to see 28 Years Later recently, and I had a pretty good time. I didn't think it was the world's best movie or anything, but I had a pretty good time with it. But then I was reading about it on the internet later, and I found out that it was the first of a planned trilogy. And oh my God, no more. It was fine on its own. Don't make 2 sequels.
You have to have a whole franchise.
I'm going to spoil something about 28 Years Later. I don't think anybody will really care, but just so you know, spoilers incoming for 28 Years Later. The movie climaxes in a bone temple where Ray Fiennes is a doctor who the community that survived the zombie outbreak, he doesn't live amongst them. They think he's crazy. He's building this bone temple. And then you get there, and it's actually interesting and sweet. He's just a doctor who's trying to remember all the people who died. He's cremating and cleaning their bones and then using it to make this memento mori structure. And he views it as a duty, right? And It's still a little creepy, but it's sweet and interesting. There's also maybe a sort of debate about Britain's euthanasia policy going on in the movie, which is interesting. I really liked the use of the bone temple in the film. I came out very satisfied with how the film used the bone temple. Do you know what the sequel to 28 Years Later is going to be called?
Is it called the Bone Temple, Bob?
28 Years Later, the bone temple. And there's nothing else to
Damn it!
say
I was
about the bone temple.
Bone Temple sounds like a club.
That's Bone Town.
Bone
Very
Town.
different. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's Bone Town and there's Bone Temple, Matt. And in Bone Town, bone is a verb. And in Bone Temple, bone is a noun.
Go back and listen to that part again where Bob says Bone Temple 30 times and imagine it what I was talking about. It just sounds so much, it sounds awful. All right.
That's what you're always imagining when I talk, Matt. You're always just imagining
Bone Temple.
Oh, man. Now that you're saying it in that voice, it's starting to sound like Stone Temple.
Yeah.
One other question about zombies, Matt. So the tease here, right, when they find the leg severed amongst the plants, it turns into a zombie thing. But at first I thought it was going to be a killer plants thing, especially because they were going to look for a special plant. And I was going to ask, do you find horror movies about plants affecting it all? Does the idea of a plant creeping up on you and eating you, does that do anything for you?
No. Honestly, there's this game that came out for phones called Plants vs. Zombies. So the plants are the opposite of the zombies. But at the same time, I think plants are going to be what survives us. So I don't really, as humans.
When that phone game of Plants vs. Zombies came out?
Oh, God. 2015-ish, maybe.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I don't know if you remember the Empire crossover when it came to X-Men. This is like the early Krakoa era X-Men.
Yeah.
But they did a 4-issue miniseries that I thought was really fun. They did a progressive reveal. If I'm remembering right, they revealed the title of the first issue, the end of the first issue, and it's Plants versus Zombies. Then they reveal the title of the second issue at the end of the second issue, and it's Mutants versus Plants versus Zombies. The reveal at the end of the third issue is Old Women Gardeners versus Mutants versus Plants versus Zombies. And it was pretty awesome. I really love that series.
The date was 2009 when that game dropped.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, I didn't realize that Plants vs. Zombies title was a reference to that phone game.
It's the equivalent of Angry Birds. We're not talking about some... No, we're not talking about anything intense.
I did date a woman who was addicted to Angry Birds. It actually did in a relationship. It was just funny that she played Angry Birds a lot. One other thing about that point about Plants vs. Zombies, you make a compelling point about them sort of being the opposite. But there is an interesting sense. I don't know if you've ever heard of a movie or a novel called Day of the Triffids, but it's a early post-apocalyptic, I believe early 60s novel. And it had a lot of influence on like Night of the Living Dead, which came out, I think, in 67. And so there's on the one hand, you're absolutely right that you can see Plants versus Zombies as opposites. But there's another interesting way in which the Romero zombie movies, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, that popularized the zombie trope, they're kind of drawing on this plant apocalypse, Day of the Trip.
We probably will end up, the plants are going to inherit the earth, Bob, at some point.
Coming for us, Matt. They're coming for us.
I worry about that tree outside.
To skip ahead a little, this is another thing that probably testing the limits of my memory, because I've probably said this in earlier seasons, but I really did just want to say that in the Klingon designs in this episode of Strange New Worlds, I really like how they balance elements from both the TOS Klingons and the Next Generation Klingons. They do a good job of kind of bridging.
This is the best thing they have done as far as the Klingon design goes, because you have to bridge that gap between what TOS did. It was basically blackface. You've got to find a common medium where you can at least have them portrayed in not such a discouraging way.
Right. But in hindsight, this is what it always should have been. I see why the DS9 Trouble with Tribbles episode did the joke about why the Klingons look different from Worf. And that was fun. It was a good joke, but then it spawned a terrible, terrible subplot. I think it was Enterprise Season 4. And it's like, no, never do that. That's so dumb. And it always should have been this, as the makeup was better in the 90s and the early and now you should just do this rather than coming up with some sort of convoluted, stupid story that involves Khan about why the Klingons look the way they do.
These Klingons reminded me somewhat more of early Next Generation Klingons. Like you're saying, there was definitely, you could see the bridge just because the way the ridges are set up, they're not as bulky.
I had a funny thought. Battelle, the pain meds aren't working. The Gorn infestation's going crazy. We're not sure if she can get the safe and legal abortion that every woman deserves if they want it. And so we have to bring in Spock to give her a mind meld to help her control her pain. I had this thought of maybe they actually are going to kill Battelle, but Star Trek 3 style, a part of Battelle's kata will survive in Spock, and then Spock and Pike will start a romance.
That's some hot fan fiction.
Isn't
The question is Pike going to see Spock as Battelle? And when we watch it from the viewer standpoint, is it going to be Spock and Pike romancing? Or are we going to like an image of Pike and Battelle? Is it going to be like Quantum Leap style?
I like to think it alternates. Pike sees, because he's really fond of his Spock, even when he doesn't have the spirit ghost of his dead girlfriend in him. That would be slash fiction. Did you like Spock going full Gorn mode and then Chapel slapping him?
I felt bad for that little ensign he knocks the hell out of. That dude flies across the entire med bay.
I was hoping we would get some more from that character because they introduced him and they made a big deal about how everybody likes him so much and he's such a good replacement to Chapel, which I want to learn more about the character, but I just don't feel like they've given us anything on screen in this episode or last episode of, oh, why do people like him so much?
Well, Spock just pushes him out of the way. Spock doesn't like him. Took his girlfriend's spot.
Spock probably just sees him as another Sam Kirk. You said the thing that spoke to you the most was the way Pelia sent Scotty to sub for her at the senior staff meeting.
Yeah, I did not know this was an option, Bob, and I'm probably going to try this at work once I learn of Pelia's fate first, though. I need to know what happens to Pelia. Yeah.
See how this plays out for her.
I know Scotty becomes chief engineer, but is it like, it's way later.
But it's because Pike fires her because
Yeah.
she stops coming to the meeting?
Yeah, she gets promoted because she knows how to delegate her work.
I don't know how you are regarded at your workplace. Maybe you are the hot stuff at your workplace, but I feel like you're not really Carol Kane. Carol Kane,
She can get away with it.
I'm not sure you can. I don't know that you can. I just raise the possibility that you're not Carol Kane.
I'm not immortal either. I only get one shot at it, so I probably may not need to try that.
You don't need to mess up this job. Unlike Carol Kane, you don't got lives that you to find another one. We really had to evaluate something I think we just assumed was true after the last episode, which at the end of the last episode, we just straight assumed Ortega's got that Gorn in her, right?
That's what I thought, but then why isn't she having as many issues as Battelle is?
Because the way they shot it, it seemed like Gorn was literally possessing her.
Right.
And that would explain her aggressivity. But the way she's more controlled but acting out in this episode, and the way that there's no overt visual cue, it's maybe making it seem last episode they wanted you to think of her as traumatized rather than possessed, or traumatized rather than infected.
This episode makes it seem like they're going for like a PTSD angle, which I'm okay with. It's better that way, honestly. Because in the last episode, she leaves the party to go hit a punching bag, so maybe it is just trying to relieve the stress and she's just thinking about the Gorn.
I would prefer her to be infested by the Gorn just because I think that's a more overt action plot, and PTSD and trauma is so overplayed in contemporary media. It's so overplayed. That said, I do have faith in the Strange New Worlds writers and actors of pulling it off if they want to do a trauma plot. And also, I do grant that since we are going with Battelle's Gorn infestation, then also having to do the same thing for Ortega's would be a little much.
Right. And then at the same time, Bob, with this, everything that went down between her and Una in this episode was beautiful. The writing was great. And I don't know if you've ever had these kind of issues before, doing the wrong thing because you think it's right, and then having to go talk to your boss about it. I've had these experiences before. This is spot on.
I've had semi-antagonistic boss relationships before, but I'm lucky in my current positions that I'm mostly given a large degree of autonomy, and that's my interactions with my bosses are usually not adversarial. So I'm familiar with the general antagonism, but I'm pretty fortunate in my current situations.
This was spot on. It was, somebody experienced this at some point and they're writing it.
So I have one question about that, and then I have another slash fiction theory, and then if you want, we could go into character. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
So at the end, we have a really interesting confrontation between number one and Ortegas, and I really liked it because I thought Ortegas's mild insubordination, at least to my eyes, I'm not, maybe a military listener would have a very different read of it, but I thought Ortega's mild insubordination was handled fairly believably, and then Una slapped her down in a good way, but not an over-the-top way. So I liked it dramatically. Maybe people who actually had more experience in the corporate workspace or more experience in the military than I do would not like it. But I liked it in that sense. But then was it that number one is sending Ortega's to command training? Was that the phrase she used?
Yeah, chain of command training.
Okay, because I don't think I heard the chain part. I think I just heard the command training, and it wasn't clear to me if it was like a punishment or if it was, oh, I want to get you more perspective. So I'm going to, even though you just want to be a pilot, I'm going to make you do command training.
Punishment.
It was a punishment. I wasn't totally sure. I wasn't sure if it was a reward, a punishment, or a reward that was really a punishment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. She's going to have to watch a PowerPoint about who is in charge, and it's going to be this string of, okay, captain, commander, really take command. She's going to have to memorize it, and there'll be a test at the end.
Would it be funnier if La'an is doing the board reading of the PowerPoints to Ortega's? Which would be funnier?
Una.
It's going to be with number one.
And she's the only student.
Oh, man, you don't think number one is also going to force Pelia to go to it for skipping the meeting?
No, Bob. She's old.
Oh, man. I really wish I could draw it all. I would love to do like a fan comic strip of Una making a very awkward training situation for Ortega.
It's going to be 6 sessions.
Spock volunteers to come.
He's at all the classes. He just wants to be there.
And number one, you're really wasting time. You really don't have to be here. Well, Matt, I have one other kind of slash fiction take on this, so the way that Mbinga wants to help Batel, as I took it from this episode, is he wants to get it where she can live with the Goran tissue in her system, integrated into her system, which it wasn't clear to me, and I'm not sure if the show is being vague on this or if I just missed something. It wasn't clear to me, but does this just mean Batel will look like she always does, but people will say, oh, she got that Goran in her? Or does it mean she's going to mutate into like a human Goran hybrid? She's going to be a lizard girl? It's pretty sad that Mbinga loves his boy Pike. He's trying to get him a lizard girlfriend, and Pike just treats Mbinga like this for trying to get him a hot lizard girlfriend.
Bob, I think you pretty much just wrote the rest of the season with your comment there. Because I really think what's going to end up happening is she starts to turn lizard, and then Pike has to make the decision on whether to kill her or not because she starts infesting other people.
Well, and I could also see Pike being, yeah, I'll take the Goran infestation. That sounds better than the burn and the chair.
What if she, like, lays eggs?
Oh, that'd be I want to be clear, listeners. The lizard lady is not my fetish. I just think it's funny. I think it might be Pike's, and I think maybe he can't accept that it is, but his boy Mbinga knows what Pike wants, and he knows that in the end, this will be better for Pike.
They've been fly fishing and smoking cigars. They know each other.
Mbinga's seen how Pike looks at fish. He's seen how he looks at the reptiles. Well, should we just go to character of the week, Matt?
Yeah, Bob, my character of the week goes to number one, just because she did force Ortegas to go to chain of command training.
Man, I should just agree with you. I'm going to say Batel, just because I think she's going to live, but she may not. And I've enjoyed her as a character if she doesn't live. And she probably will not be my favorite thing about her death episode. So I'll go ahead and give it to Batel. Yeah. But you make a very persuasive case for number one.
Well, Bob, when it comes to haters of the week, I couldn't find anyone really that was super stupid about this episode, other than a couple people that were confused about the shuttle. Because apparently having 2 shuttles on a planet is too much for them. The Klingons had a ship, and Pike had a ship. Pike's ship was destroyed. The Klingon one, that was the one they were going to escape on. But other than that, it was mainly just people groaning and moaning about zombies, which I get, but it is what it is.
Yeah. My hater of the week, and this represented a trend of a few comments I saw, and it is episode specific, but the comment was, what the hell was going on with hairs on this episode? Una's hairstyle was so ugly, La'an's too. I also think I saw some people complaining about Uhura and Chapels, but this was the funnier ones. Hairs are a little different, but that bad. Not that I have a good eye for this sort of thing.
It was more they're in a very dramatic situation and don't have time to fix their hair. I don't really see a problem with it. Horace's hair was on point, so I don't really know what the problem with hers. Yeah. They're just used to Pike's hair being so perfect and all the time. Yeah.
It is funny that Pike sets a really high standard that the ladies on this show, as great as they are as actresses, it's hard to live up to Daddy Pike's hair, isn't it?
Maybe they do it on purpose to make Pike feel better about himself.
And that's part of the code of serving on the Enterprise is you don't outshine the captain's hair.
Maybe that'll be in the chain of command training.
That's a PS at the end of session 2. By respecting the chain of command, we mean respecting Pike's hair. All right.
Looking forward to next week.
Listeners, join us next week. This is Uncanny Treks, covers Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I'm Bob in Cascadia. That's Matt in the Southland. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks for listening.